This time on low boost, we reinforced the bottom end of our Mustang.
Alright, let me give you guys a breakdown of everything that's going on with this 1966 Ford Mustang. We got it for $2,000. It didn't start, it didn't drive, but we replaced the fuel tank, fuel lines, spark plugs, and a carburetor, and boom, the thing fired right up. Next, I do want to swap the 351 Windsor that I got into the car. However, I do need to do some things first. That engine actually was completely locked up in hydrolock, so we had to send it out to get completely redone, and the guy actually ended up getting hogged out 30 over, so it's 357 now. But before I swap that in, I want to make sure the car is running and driving and as completely mechanically sound as possible. So I did springs, shocks, disc brake swap up front, a new manual steering rack, and a brake booster, and bled all the lines to make sure everything is good, at least as far as that goes. Then I replaced some stuff in the back end of the car. The rear end, we put a rear end out of a V8 Mustang because the rear end on the 6 cylinders are just not going to be able to handle the power of the V8. So just finishing up what we have to do to the car. I also want to get some newer style seats with actual headrests in the back of them, so we're going to look at that too. And amongst some other things, if you guys are new to the channel or you are interested in this kind of stuff, consider subscribing and go back and check out the other videos that I have on the Thrift Horse Mustang. But next, in this episode, the car needs some reinforcement in some spots. There's 2 spots in the car that there is some rust, and there really isn't much else anywhere else. But one of it's on the frame rail, and I got a bracket from CJ Pony Parts that we're just going to weld up and throw on there. So let's get into it. All right, so we're doing some patchwork with the rust on the car, and this is one of the spots that had it the worst. So as you can see, we cut out all the spots that was rusty, and they sell the bracket from CJ Pony that will go right in there, and you weld right over it, and you drill. We drilled out where the old welds were, and we should be able to spot weld them all back on and then fill it all in and grind it down. But see how it looks. The bracket kind of fitted up, drilled holes to put our spot welds on, and then we're gonna weld the seams up and around, and this will get folded up and we'll weld that on too. And that should make this a hell of a lot stronger. Oh, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Try it again.
This was a lot more difficult than it should have been, mainly because we had the welder plugged into a 110 outlet because our 220, where our welding station is on the other side. So it took a lot of extra effort to try to get a good weld with just the 110 outlet.
All right, yeah, I got a long ways to go before I get better at welding. I'm gonna grind that down, but it's gonna hold. Definitely a lot sturdier than it was there. The thing's gonna hold up. It was, as you saw in the video, definitely needed to be swapped out to something stronger. The other side's pretty good. So, and as you can see underneath, you know, this isn't in the best shape, but the rest of the car isn't so bad. Just don't get too close to it. But things are coming along with it. You know, we did the brakes, shocks, springs, and a different episode. You know, I got a whole build series on this car, so if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, you know, check out the whole build series, because we're gonna pull this motor out. We got a 351 Windsor we're putting in it, so. All right, so that's what it looks like all done. Flap disced it as much as I could, and like I said, it doesn't look pretty, but it's holding really well. Got good penetration. There's also a little patch there that I had to hit too. It was holding up pretty good. The only thing that sucked about this was the fact that
I had to use the 110 outlet to do this, so. But it's not really gonna go anywhere. The only problem that I had was down under here, and I filled all of that in. I don't know if you can see. It came out like crap, but was able to fill it in. It's definitely significantly stronger than it was. The other side is in good shape, but here definitely needed a patch. If you have better welding skills than me, it's going to come out better. Basically the tabs, the little spots you see there were spot welds, and I filled them in and then just grinded them down. Well, I could have did a better job, but to me, good for me. Let me know what you think. So the only other spot on the car that I think it needs some attention with some rust is this here. The other side of the car is pretty good, but that's all rotted through. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait till we pull the engine out, and they sell a whole panel that actually can get cut and welded in. And when the engine's out, I'll take the front end off and finish that. But the rest of the car looks pretty good. So that wraps up just about everything I can do to the Mustang right now. Still gonna do some other stuff down the road, but once some of my other projects are done, that's gonna go on the lift. We're gonna pull the engine out and get started on that. So we're gonna do some other stuff here and there, but the major stuff's gonna happen soon when we yank the engine out and take the front end off and do all that. If you're also looking at some other projects, I have a BMW E36 Turbo LS swap that is getting some paint work done to it, doing a rear end on it. There's a big old turbo there, and there's the new rear end that's going in it. Almost done, just waiting on axles from the drive shaft shop because this car is going to get rated for about 1,000 horsepower. I'm going to get different seats on the inside of the Mustang, and I'm also going to do a plate on the back to prevent the gas tank from flying in the event of a collision, because that was a common thing on the early 64 to 67 Mustangs, I think. Had a hazard for that. But the car looks really good with those big old wheels and tires on it. Can't wait to actually drive it. I am going to drive it once the weather turns before we actually yank the engine out, just to kind of do another brake test on the brakes that I did. If you haven't seen it there, those are the disc brakes I got from Disc Brake Swap. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.